Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mansfield Buzz.
Welcome to Mansfield Buzz with Jordan and Hurdy. Local business stories, let's dive in early. Jordan asks the questions, brings stories to light. Hurdy runs a tech, keeps production tight. Build trust in a town, discover and explore hidden gems and stores you never heard before. Community connection, that's what we're about. Tune in, join us, see what Mansfield's all about.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Mansfield Buzz. We are live every Thursday at 2 p.m. This is show number 67. Jordan, it's hard to believe we've covered 67 businesses since March of 2024, and we're just so excited. Jordan, I like that. I like that tune so much that I'm so glad that when we start that they automatically mute the song, our mics, because I catch myself singing along with it now.
Perfect.
So anytime you start to sing along with the song or it gets in your head, okay, that means it's good. All right. So that's a compliments to our man up there in the right hand corner. So welcome Mansfield Buzz. We're your hosts, Jordan Huff sitting right over there, and yours truly, Hurdy Burke, sitting right here. We've got Shawn from Second Chance Mentors today, who we're going to jump into and have some conversation with today about how he's helping kids. And I'm really excited about that. And welcoming him as friendship. And he reached out to us to be on the show, Jordan. And, because he's a nonprofit, I actually wanted to make sure he got a good chance to come on and voice himself. But also, if you guys would do me a big, big, big favor, our YouTube handle is at Mansfield TX Buzz. Right there is our full URL. We will be sharing that back out, of course. But right now, under the video on YouTube, there's a thumb. And it's pointed up like this, not the one that's down, the one that's up. Go ahead and hit that and like that and let us know, that you really do love it. If you want to chat with us, I've set it up where you can literally chat and say hi to us, and we'll try to post those for you. So just be aware of that. All right, Jordan. So we're around particularly good couple of days. We're now at about 2.7, a little over almost 3,000 views in the last 28 days, and we're getting close to 4750 watch time hours, and we've increased our subscribers, all local, of course, up to about 170. So our goal is 200 by July. We always seem to meet our goals, so that tells me we're doing something right. So all right. So if you want to be on the Mansfield Buzz, we are now, Jordan, officially booked. June's gone. June is booked up. The first 2 weeks of July are booked. Now I'm working on the last 3 weeks of July, which is really exciting for us. And I'm even got some August and September people signed up that wanted to delay because their business is by weather, right? So it makes perfect sense for them to come on when they do. So if you want to be on it, you can email me at hurdy@hurdyburke.com. Just put in the subject line, I want to be a part of that great, fantastic, Phantasmo podcast on YouTube. And by the way, we're also on LinkedIn and streaming to the Facebook group today. So we're really going to 3 destinations. So thanks for joining us. And then I guess the next thing we need to do before we get to Shawn here is jump into our icebreakers. And so let me play that. We'll introduce our sponsor, and we'll be back in a few minutes. All right, everybody. So we do have a great sponsor, and that is LibertyTaxDefenders.com. You would be, if you called them or went to their website, you would see 3 people. You would see Brad Horton, who, by the way, is also the mayor of Kenningdale, Dennis Wade, and you would all see Fred. And they gave me something to read on the air. We appreciate your sponsorship, guys. That's Liberty Tax Defenders. We are Liberty Tax Defenders, your premier tax resolution firm. We work every day to help hardworking Americans keep more of their money out of the hands of overzealous bureaucrats. We help our clients solve problems with back taxes, unfiled tax returns, payroll, and trust fund issues. We also negotiate payment plans and offers and compromise that are favorable to our clients, as well as represent clients who are under audit before the IRS. In addition, we help clients navigate tax issues such as employee retention credit, as well as providing consulting, tax preparation, accounting services. By the way, they successfully, we need to change it. We say it every week. Every single week we say this. So I'm going to do this next week. They've basically saved their clients over $2 million in assessed taxes and penalties. You can reach them at 817-995-5008. And if you don't mind, I'm going to play a quick, like 33-second video of them, and then we're going to move on to Shawn.
I don't agree with the IRS's position. What are my options?
Well, you can tell them to pound sand,
I love
which so few people do this. Don't just agree. They're wrong so often. You have rights. You can appeal it. The appeal must be made within 30 days of the date that the IRS has made a determination. You file a formal notice of appeal and you present your case before appeals. And they consider how much is it going to cost the IRS to go to court. At the end of the day, what's another 12 to 18 months if you save yourself 50 grand in the long run, which is, I think that's being conservative.
Well, there you go. So everybody, welcome to our show. We've got Shawn here, and let me get rid of, let me, sometimes, okay, here's what happens. We're both trying to manage a control board, and we both have access to it. So Jordan tries to help him out, and I try to help him out, and he thinks sometimes, yeah, so it's all cool. So we're flipping and stopping screens. Anyhow, listen, audience, kick up your feet, turn your brain on. Jordan's getting ready to start going through with our guest here. So Shawn, personal welcome to our show, sir.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you guys for letting me do this.
Of course, man. It's really exciting. So, we're going to go down the rabbit hole here, but first we'd love to start with an icebreaker, right?
Okay.
And I believe yours has something to do with eagles.
Oh, man. See, I wish it was that I like birds, but it's actually that I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. And hopefully not too many people turn off the live now that I said that, but
yeah.
We just lost like half of the subscribers.
You're down to 70 now.
No, we're good. And how many games did you go to? Did you grow up going to the stadium and going to games and stuff, Shawn?
Yes, absolutely. I used to go with my dad, and now it's something that me and my son do. Me and my son haven't missed. He didn't get a choice but to be an Eagles fan and grow. He grew up in Texas, but he didn't get a choice. So me and him, we've made all the Cowboys-Eagles games that are here, and we went back last year and watched the Eagles play the Cowboys in Philadelphia.
Wow. Awesome. Woohoo.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. Cool. Philadelphia Eagles.
No one's perfect, right?
We need to switch I need to switch my fan base to another good football team. I'm tired of where we're at. But anyhow, enough of that. Right. Well, Shawn's got a great story. Jordan, I'm gonna let you handle it from here, and thank everybody for being again on the Mansfield Buzz.
Yeah, definitely. Let's dive into it. But first, I gotta say, man, I love the haircut.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, you two guys. Mm-hmm.
The beard and I don't know,
exactly. I feel like synergy here already.
That's funny. Hopefully there's not too much of a glare from my forehead. Can you still see?
Oh, it's all good, man. You're just shining bright.
Yours is balancing out with Jordan, so it's cool.
It evens out. That's good.
It's just brilliance is what you see. It's just pure brilliance.
Just like brilliance. Yeah.
I like that.
Somehow I feel isolated here.
Just you got to join the club, dude.
No.
That's what you get for making it to your 70s with your hair.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm very thankful. So thank
you. So Shawn, so you are with you founded this nonprofit, Second Chance Mentors. So I want to talk to you. Obviously, we're going to talk about this, but I love it when we kind of start at the beginning.
Yeah.
With the story, because obviously, you had a reason that brought you here. So I love to, ask you, like, what inspired you to start this nonprofit, and how? I mean, I'm assuming this comes from your own personal experience. So I'd love for you to just kind of walk us through it and just give us a little bit of like the origin story.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the shortened edition because people don't want to be here all day. But at about the age of 12 or 13, my mom decided that she didn't really want to be part of the family anymore. So she kind of, or at least with my dad, so she kind of left. And my dad was in the military at the time, was a commander in the Navy, and it just left me with a lot of free time. And I started doing things like smoking weed and drinking at about 12, 13 years old. We would find ourselves, getting homeless people to buy us like 40-ounce beers and stuff. We'd be hanging out in the woods and drinking beers. And this is like 13 years old. Started smoking weed, and I was still playing sports. So it didn't completely take over my life at that point, but I had started to lose a lot of opportunities. Like my senior year of high school, I had a couple looks to play like Division I soccer, but I got arrested with some marijuana, lost that opportunity, ended up going to a Division II college to play soccer and joined a fraternity and ended up just like not even going to class, using and selling drugs, and ended up failing out of college, staying at college and living on the couch and continue to sell and use drugs. It's embarrassing. I'm just telling the story so that people can understand where it's at, but it's still embarrassing for me to tell it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not trying to like highlight it or glamorize it.
Mhm.
I almost got in some trouble at that point, and I called my mom, who was in Texas. When my dad took me and my sister to Philadelphia, my mom moved to Texas because this is where she's from. So I called my mom and I said, "Mom, I need to get out of here. I'm not living a good life. I need a new opportunity." So my mom got me a Greyhound bus ticket from Philadelphia to Texas. It took like 6 days on the Greyhound, and I saw something on that bus ride that no one should ever have to see.
I bet.
Ended up getting to Texas, and it was within a couple weeks, and I'm right back into doing the same stuff. I didn't change anything up here. I just changed my location. So eventually my mom said, "Shawn, you're not going to move down here and continue to live this life." So I thought, okay, well, what could fix me better than the military? So I joined the Marines, and I was actually thriving. I was a great Marine. And I got leave one time, came home and went right back to the same lifestyle, partied, did some things that I shouldn't have done. And then
It's okay. We all have dogs. We get it.
so I was literally the dogs. You heard the dog start to bark. I was like, "Oh my God."
It's all good.
I was
It's all
like, "No,
good.
stop." So I report back to base, and I get drug tests, and now I'm kicked out of the military for failing a drug test. Then at that point, I come back to Texas, and now I've messed up a full ride scholarship, failed out of college. Now I'm kicked out of the Marines. Like, I'm just stacking losses,
Mhm.
I then get to back to Texas. My mom gets me a job selling cars at a used car dealership. Let me let this dog out.
That's fine. Go ahead. You're cool. You know what I love about this? This is exactly, Jordan, what I love about this.
Oh, yeah.
Normally they want to hang out, but now they don't want to hang out. So
No, that's fine.
I'm selling cars at a car dealership, and I don't know if anyone's ever been in the used car industry, but it's definitely not it's not always the best influences around. So I'm still living that same kind of life of just drinking and using drugs, not doing anything with my life. And I'm pretty good at selling cars though, so I'm making money. And anyways, next thing you know, I meet this girl, and I'm at this bar, and I meet this girl, and it's the first day that we go out on a date, and she's telling me that she's on the run from the police. So instead of like doing what any normal person would do, I move her in with me. The first day that we meet, and she's active in selling drugs and doing things like that, using and selling drugs, and I kind of take over this, or I start doing this with her at that point. So we're selling and using drugs. I stopped selling cars, and she's on probation. So we get her turned, like she had to like turn herself in to we wanted to get her legal stuff taken care of so that she could be like, everything could be good. So she does a walkthrough. Well, they take her to this like rehab, like jail. So she's gone. And so I was basically left, all that to say, I was left like drug dealer in a box, basically. All the customers, all the money, all the clientele just left to me. And instead of being smart about anything, I was so, and I like to say this, I was so insecure that like, I never sold drugs to like make money. I sold drugs because I was so insecure that it was like, look at me. It made me feel important. It made me feel valued. It made me feel needed. Like it was all stemmed from insecurity, not trying to be some like Pablo Escobar. Like, I don't even think I saved any money. I was just like, literally, I was just like blowing money, but I loved the attention that I was getting from it, So it was an internal issue that I had never really kind of figured out. So anyways, she comes home. I'm going to kind of skip through some of the details. She gets pregnant and we get married and she has my son, but I still couldn't get it together. And a couple months after that, while I get my door kicked in by the DEA, basically. Okay. So at that point, I'm on pretrial release, which means they let me like, once they kicked my door and they took me to jail, they let me out to continue to like stay out for like 6 months of like sentencing stuff that you have to go through. And during that time, I stopped using, stopped selling, stopped everything, because I started to realize like this is real. Because honestly, I thought I didn't know the difference between the federal government and the state government, and I thought that oh, it's okay, I'll just get probation. Well, I didn't realize I skipped that whole level of like state police and went straight to federal police. So there is no probation for federal police. So after all this sentencing stuff goes through, my pre-sentence investigation comes back and they want me to do 19 years in federal prison. I cried like a baby. I was at this point, I was in Fort Worth in an actual federal detention center when they were doing the actual sentencing. And my investigation came back that they wanted me to do 19 years. And remember, I always thought, oh, I'll just do this until I get, caught, and I'll just get probation and I'll stop everything. That was the lie that I told myself to do what I was doing.
How old were you at that point?
Sorry, I didn't say it again.
How old were you at that point?
26.
Okay.
So at this point, they take me, they now send me to a real prison. So the first prison they send me to is Oakdale, Louisiana, right? So I have two options at this point. I can sit around and feel sorry for myself and blame the government, blame the police, just waste this whole time. But I really had this wake up moment, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to do every single thing that's while I'm in here, that when I'm done this time, that I can be like a good, productive, like because when they finally did sentence me, I kind of skipped this part. I was sentenced to 13 and a half years. In the federal prison, you're going to do 80% of your time. So I'm like, okay, I'll do 10 years. My son was just born. He'll be 11 when I get out. I can still get half of his, under 18 age. I can still like salvage this, So I just start doing everything possible that the prisons offer that's good. I'm in all the rehab courses. I'm in all the Bible studies. I got four certifications as a personal trainer. I got an associate's degree from East Arkansas Community College. I taught as a job. You have to have a job there. I taught GED. So I was teaching 67-year-old men how to read. I don't know if you've ever been to Louisiana, but there's a lot of people in Louisiana that don't know how to read. And so it's these older gentlemen that just had never. So I got a lot of pride. That was something I was really proud of, was helping these guys get these GEDs, grown men who, are learning how to read and write at literally 50, 60 years old. So all that to say, they moved me around to different prisons. I start in Oakdale, Louisiana. Then they send me to Forest City, Arkansas. Then they send me to Texarkana, Texas, where I finish. In that whole mix of moving me around, I got there was a gun on my case that was at my house when there was no drugs or money around it at this point. So they had to drop that because it was legally kept. So that took me down from 13 and a half years to like 8. And then while I was in there, the president, I think it was Obama at the time, enacted that if you had no violence whatsoever on your case, you would get 2 years off. So that dropped me down to like 7, and I'm just throwing out, it's like months and stuff, and like 7. So I ended up doing almost 6 years on the time. And like I said, and I don't know if I've said this time, me and Herdy were talking about it. It was literally the absolute best thing that ever happened to me, was going to prison. Like, it made me realize that I took life for granted. I took family for granted. I was very privileged growing up, where I just kind of, like, things were I just did well, just without even putting much effort. And I kind of just thought that life was like that. So it was a good wake up call for me to go to prison and kind of learn that, like, this is not the way it's supposed to be. When I get out of prison, sorry, I feel like I'm just rambling, but
the story is fantastic.
Okay, I don't want to like take over. Like, if you guys want to interrupt me, just tell me.
No, we'll get to your questions in a minute, but just finish that transition out, because I think when you're literally back on the street and you're out, I think that kind of tells the tale, right? You didn't run back to the old life. So tell us what you started doing. That's the cool part.
So I get out of prison, and my life goals at that point are to make $12.50 an hour. I wanted to make $500 a week. I wanted to get an efficiency apartment, get a little car, get custody of my son back, and that was my only goal, right? So I get out of prison, and immediately I get a job at a gym. as a personal trainer, making $12.50 an hour. And I am so proud. Like, I'm busting my butt. I'm at the mall passing out cards. I'm like growing this guy's gym because I'm like super proud of it. Like, I was so proud to be a personal trainer. And after a couple months of that, there was this girl that I met at the gym, and we started talking. We became friends, and she was like, Shawn, I feel like we're supposed to open our own gym. And I laughed, and I said, I have a 490 credit score and $17 to my name. I was like, I'm not much help at opening a gym. And I honestly thought I was going to lose her after I told her that, but for some reason she stayed around. And a couple months later, she brings it up again. Shawn, I really think that we need to open our own gym. Like, you're blowing this guy's gym up. You're bringing all these people in here. So I'm like, hey, I mean, if it's something, she's like, Shawn, I have the money. And I was like, whoa, like, I had no idea. So within the first year of getting out of prison, the first thing I did was got custody of my son. He moved because he was with my mom. So I don't mean to make it sound like it was some like crazy thing to do. He was with my mom. So I got custody of my son. My wife, who I'm married to now, Christy, we got married. And then we opened the first gym all within the first year of getting out of prison.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
So after a couple months of that, there's a guy working out the gym. He's working out there. He's actually the head homicide detective for Arlington. His name is Robert Walsh. He says to me, Shawn, would you come and talk to the kids at Turning Point Academy, which is Arlington's like alternative school? And I was like, man, I would love to. So I go in there, and they bring me 33 young kids. And I'm talking to these kids. I'm telling them this story. I'm telling them about, don't go down the path I went. Trust me, it's lonely and scary. And at the end, man, and these kids were so attentive. Like, these people make it sound like these kids are bad, and they don't, these kids were eye contact, asking amazing questions. They were so involved in the conversation. Like, it was awesome. And at the end, the counselor comes out and goes, how many of you guys have any sort of like male role model, father figure in your house or in your life? 3 of the 33 kids raised their hand.
Wow.
And I don't have to be like a tough guy. Like, driving home that day, I cried. Like, I was like, okay, God, like, I know what you want me to do. Literally that night, I applied for my 501c3 to become an official, nonprofit. And luckily, I had a contact at my gym that hooked me up with, her name is Regina Crane, who was the principal at the Phoenix Academy, which is Mansfield's
Right.
alternative school.
Yep.
Phoenix Academy, and then attached to it is BIC, which is the Behavior Intervention Center. So I went there, met her, and like, she was the biggest supportive of like what we did. And then that's basically how Second Chance Mentors started.
Wow.
Jordan, is that a story or what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's embarrassing, but
Well, we're all embarrassed of our mistakes. Right?
that's true,
Oh,
right?
And look back, and like, if we can go back and do it over, there's so many things that we would change, but then we wouldn't be who we are today.
That's true.
Yeah, you're only as good as what you go through, man.
That's good.
And everybody goes through different pathways, whether it's family losses or stuff. I mean, it's just part of life. So, but the cool thing is, and we're going to get into questions here. I was just thinking this out loud, was how you got to feel like you were on some sort of divine trail for this. I don't know how to describe that, and we don't need to get into that side of it. But, to me, it's almost like these little threads just happened at the right time.
No, and I agree.
That's a better way to say it. This thread connected, then you stepped out, and this thread connected, and you really didn't have anything to do with it. It just kind of, your energy took over, but it's kind of like these little things connected to make you get to the next level.
No,
Pretty
you're
cool
right.
story.
And you hit it right on the head. I believe that it was definitely a divine thing. Like, because
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to speak to these kids, if I hadn't gone through what I've gone through, they wouldn't listen to me the way they do. Like,
Oh no,
they wouldn't, they really, when I tell them I went to prison and the stuff I did, like, they all of a sudden, it completely changes. So I feel like God allowed me to walk through that path to be able to now help these kids,
Perfect. All right. Well, Jordan's got some great questions for you.
Oh yeah. And, but definitely want to call out that it's very important for all of us to know that just the mentality makes such a big difference. Like, you definitely are the embodiment of life happens for you, not to you.
Oh yeah.
You could totally like look at everything you've gone through and just, as you said it, just place blame elsewhere, or just place blame even internally. But just instead of dwelling in that blame, you've taken as an experience, a learning experience, and then now paying it forward. I'm curious, what made you how did the clarity come through? Because you have this wonderful experience, and I know what it's like to really inspire somebody, and you can tell when you've actually made a difference. And you obviously did with those kids, and then you went and filed for a nonprofit. So what was that moment of clarity like?
So, and that's a great question, because there was so the guy that I told you that invited me to come speak there, and I
Mhm.
have to always give him credit. He had a program called the Next Foundation that was kind of doing but I just saw it and I said, you know what? I love what he's doing, but I want to do it a little bit differently. And as you'll see, like probably further in the conversation, I'm really into I like to create stuff. Like entrepreneurship is so exciting to me. Like, so I love forming stuff. I like building stuff. I just really enjoy that. So I just kind of, and I have to give him credit because I kind of took what he started and how he wanted to do it and just kind of made it my own. So basically I had seen it modeled a little bit, and that's where the clarity came from.
Okay. So to move a little further in the story, so you apply for a nonprofit. Now you have a mission, a clear mission you want to accomplish. But then I'm assuming at a certain point, the world sort of makes itself known, and it likes to come in as complicated situations.
Yeah.
Because, in theory, everything, in our heads, things work out so well, and when we put in an application, they are much more challenging. Nonprofit is the same place too. So what are some of the challenges you faced as you go into something that you like? It's like, I don't even how did you even know to start a nonprofit and how to start making it all official? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes. So it kind of goes back to what I just said a little bit about knowing, following the guy, Robert Walsh's, that he had one,
Mhm.
and watching that and seeing how he did it. But some of the things I was worried about was having a felony. I didn't know if being a felon was going to stop me. So that was something I was worried about. Luckily, it didn't play any role in it. They didn't stop that. But I do have to be extra, extra, extra careful with my finances because, so basically our finances are just a wide open book. Like I allow any single person that ever wants to see what our bank accounts look like, or I'll print out my bank statements and give them to anybody who's ever wants to see them, just because I just want to protect myself as being a felon. I am a felon.
Mhm.
And then also another thing a challenge that I kind of faced with it, and I'm not sure if this is kind of on the same path, but a lot of the kids that we work with are Black and Hispanic young kids, just to be straightforward. Race kind of gets funny sometimes when people discuss race, and having to in the beginning, there was a lot of even a couple of parents were like, what does this white man want to do with you? Like I was trying to come in and be some sort of white savior type complex thing. I don't know if that's, so
Yeah.
the race kind of played a part into it in the beginning. Now, once the school knows me and then everyone knew me, but
Mhm.
that was kind of like a little touchy. I mean, I had one kid that's dad wouldn't even let him in the program because I was the one running it,
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if that's exactly what the question was. And it might've been more of an internal thing that I just kind of was trying to battle through. But it's been all smooth sailing once we overcame those couple of things.
And Shawn, I guess as a nonprofit, you did say you were 501c3, so donations are allowed to be written off because of that.
Right.
You can't carry a political message
Yep.
at all because of their designation.
Yep.
But you also have to file differently too with the IRS, and you have to have bylaws. Do you have an actual board?
An actual what?
A board of directors? Do you
Absolutely.
have a board? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yep. We have a board of directors with
Yep.
5 men. We have our meetings, we keep our notes.
Yep.
Everything. We follow all the standards and rules that we have to follow.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know you have to file your bylaws. You have to put your board of directors down. So,
Yep.
really familiar with 513s. Take my word for it. So cool. So how do you raise I guess one of the questions I want to throw in right now, maybe it comes up late. Jordan, I'm just going to let you keep going because I'll just go down a dirt road here. So go on.
You'll skip ahead.
Yeah, we'll skip ahead.
Yeah. So to ground us, now you're putting together this organization. You have a mission that you want to accomplish, but now I'm guessing now you're getting to the specifics where you have to start tackling specific problems or even figure out what's the best way to help.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm wondering too is what are some of the issues that you're tackling with kids that are at risk and in the community, and how are you helping them with that? You know,
Yeah,
like,
that's
yeah,
oh,
'cause- no, it's just I don't know how you do that because you've obviously you have a different perspective. So I feel like you have more insight into the risk being going through. You know, part of what like your experience makes you perfect for this is because you've been there. So yeah, I want to know how do you help them with that, but also how do you identify it?
so I go to the schools. Here's the thing. So I go to that school, the Phoenix Academy,
Mhm.
and I work very closely with the principal and the assistant principals. Like Dr. Mabry is the name of the lady who runs BIC at the Behavior Intervention Center. So I go there once a week and she kind of like vets the kids that are going to be good for our program. You know what I mean? Like, so she'll say, "Hey, Shawn, I really want you to meet this kid or this kid." So sometimes she'll bring me a group. Like for instance, last week she gave me a big group because it was the last week of school. I wanted to see how many of these kids I could pull for the summer, you know, like how many of these kids wanted to be involved for the summer. So I go in, I share my story, talk to them about, you know, what we do, what we're doing. And if they want to become part of the program, if they want to apply for it, they apply and then they're in the program. The common denominator I see with these boys is, and don't get me wrong, I don't like to say this because a single mother can raise an amazing kid, right? I've seen it, but a lot of these kids are being raised by a single mother, and the mom is busting her butt, working 2-3 jobs to pay the bills, doing a great job as a mother, but that leaves a kid with no supervision and is just able to kind of like do what they want. And that's when a lot of this stuff, kids are getting in trouble. Or a lot of the moms are just so busy doing great things to be a mom for these kids. But like, can you imagine if you came up and no one ever asked you, like, "Hey, let me see your report card"? Like, would you really care that much about your grades if no one ever asked you to see it? Like, it's harder, you know? Or how do you know how to become a husband or a father if you've never seen it modeled for you? So those are kind of the things that I feel like are some of the things that a lot of these kids in our program are like some of the struggles that they deal with.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, yeah, and it's and absolutely. I mean, it's I mean, not for just regular parents. Like how much difficult it is to just juggle the job, like pay attention to kids, like be ever present. If you're having to be one person doing all of that, and then outside, when outside influences come in, it can become so difficult to spot it because you're not, because you're having to be busy to maintain your family.
Yep, that's so true. And you're right. You did hit that on the head. Like I have my wife and I and a 16-year-old or 15-year-old son, and he's still doing stuff to get in trouble. It's not like it's a perfect scenario. Both parents are there for sure. That's
Oh
definitely true.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That makes. But at least they get asked questions, and at least I was going to say, with parents, they at least have some accountability to the process, right? And they're
Right.
and they're being asked questions and checked up on. But if you're never checked up on, and you don't feel like anybody cares, you start going
Exactly.
down that other road.
And you just use the word that I think is the most important thing of all of it that the kids need is accountability. Like I
Yeah,
think that's the thing. I think
yeah,
we all need accountability,
we
honestly.
do. We
Yeah.
do. Absolutely, never goes away.
Yep. So important.
Hmm. It does take a while to build it for yourself, though, so that having that external influence could be so important. But but for you to be able to do that, they have to let you in.
Yeah.
Right?
So,
So
that's a good point too. And that's built. I don't know if I'm about to interrupt your next question. Were you about to go into a question?
I was going to ask you that, like, how do you engage with the kids and build their trust? Because and especially like you mentioned it, like you're not even of the same race, like you look different than they do, like
Yep.
you're not their family. How do you go about just building that trust?
It's such a good question, and I get that all the time from people that just want to know how you do it. And the key is consistency. The key is doing what I say that I'm going to do, showing up, and they see me over and over and over. I get to the point where I'm texting them. I get to the point where these kids have no choice but to. They're like, okay, well, we're not going to get rid of him. I might as well just embrace him. Like it really is that serious. And I guess let me just real quick to interrupt or not interrupt, but just to kind of so people know how the program works. So there's 5 stipulations. Once a kid applies to be in the program, we reach out to whoever their guardian is and they get permission. Then there's 5 things that they have to do. They have to do 2 hours of community service every month. They have to have a sit down meeting with a mentor once a month. They have to do short and long term goals. They have to have good attendance, and they have to have no trouble with the police or school. Like they have to. So those are the 5 requirements. We used to have grades on there, but so many of the kids work their butt off for C's and D's and maybe even failing that I didn't want them to feel like that they didn't qualify for our program because they were struggling with grades. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Yeah, and there's so much place in that factor too. I mean, some of us are just not very good students, but it's just because the way our brains are wired.
Me too. Yep.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, it's a haircut.
That's funny. And then if
Well,
they
that must be my problem then. Okay, fine.
if they meet those 5 requirements, so we have they get if they meet those 5 requirements twice a year, we take them to like a retro Jordan shop and we buy them a pair of shoes. So that's like their surprise or their reward for doing good. You know, we got to trick them into thinking they need to think that there's something in it for them, because they don't see what they're really getting out of it. Sometimes they just see the shoes, but they're actually building, resilience and learning how to be a man. And like one of my favorite things to teach these young men is how to look a grown man in the eye and shake his hand. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times when I first meet them, it's a limp wrist, looking up here, and you know what I mean? And I just want these kids to know that I don't care who it is, immediately when you meet another grown man or anybody, you're getting, and I don't mean judged in a negative way, but you're getting critiqued and judged immediately, So like I just like them to know that they could miss their next opportunity. Like you could be walking in a gas station and look at another man in the eye and smile and say hello. And that like that could be an opportunity right there. But if you have your headphones on and you're mad and you're walking through the gas station, and so like, I don't know. I could go on and on about this stuff. I love this stuff.
That's cool.
That's really cool though, and it kind of makes me think of it's an analogy I use often, but it works in this case too. Like you can tell when the real craft starts because you first want to, like give somebody, like it's almost like the nutrition, right? It's like, hey, here's this like bunch of like boiled spinach. Eat it. It's good for you. Yeah,
it's
horrible, but it's good for you. So just swallow it. But then you take it to the next level. And it's like, look, I took all that nutrition and I put it in a pill so you could just, swallow it. But then it looks like you went to the next level and you're like, you know what? I took all that stuff that is, good for you and I put it in this delicious little gummy. It's chewy, it's packed with vitamins, and you're probably gonna ask for more.
No, it's true. It's just how you present it, right? Mm-hmm. You can give people different things. It's just how you present it, and that's so true. I've never even heard that, but it's true.
Yeah, and that's the art to really, when you really want to give value, is wrap it in a delicious coating, so then the experience is pleasant, and then the side effect is just good learning.
Yeah, that's true.
That's really cool, man. That is awesome. Do you? We went a little bit out of order, but I think it makes a little sense with that. Talking about the program. Do you have different programs, or is this kind of how the program works?
It's really just the one. One of the things so all the kids are from that I've met at the school. Right now we have like 14 men or 14 young men that are really like all in, engaged, come to all the events, do all the stuff, one of the things that tries to happen, but it just doesn't work, is I get a lot of, actually he just heard one while we were waiting the 30 minutes before. Mm-hmm. I'll get a phone call from a mom saying my son won't listen to me and his dad, and I want him to be in your program. Well, in the beginning, I felt like I had to try to help every kid. So I would take those kids. But dude, I'm like, I can't chase your kid around because he won't listen to you. Like it wasn't working. The kids wouldn't respond. They wouldn't. So then the mom's getting upset because her kid's not getting better, but the kid's not even listening to me. Mm-hmm. Like, so we just cut that off where we're like, hey, we're not like a program where your mom's going to call and get us to like babysit your kid. I go to the schools and I meet the kids myself. When they apply to become a part of the program, they feel now that they're bought in and that it's their choice to do this and they applied for this. And the kids are awesome, all in, answer all my texts, respond, because they feel like it's something that they chose to do as opposed to their mom making them do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Like you got to have that buy-in, right? Like you can't help anybody that doesn't want to be helped.
So can you tell with when you're working with a kid, when he finally owns up and takes on the ownership, can you see that transition when they go from to they start to take ownership of themselves and they start to see that importance of that?
Yeah, I wish it was more than it is. I'm going to be honest, because we're 3 or 4 years in, and I think we'll get to that in a little bit. But and so yes, I can start to see when the kid starts. Again, it's the accountability aspect, and like I'm
Right.
really big on trying to teach these kids out of self-pity, like that, oh, woe is me stuff.
Yeah.
You'll never be successful
Oh,
if
I
you go
still
through
do
life.
that.
You know, I mean, and we all do, right? I do too sometimes. There's things but if that's your like normal go-to, the oh, woe is me, I'm so nothing happens good for me. It's really hard to make it. So when I start to see them be more positive, starting to like, that's one thing I have noticed is some of the kids, instead of can come out of that self-pity a little bit and start being a little bit more positive, starting to like take responsibility for the things like I tell these kids, you don't have to make an excuse to me when you get in trouble of like, I want you to come to me and say, man, Shawn, I messed up. I did this again, or I did this. Like, that's how I want them to come to me, not the whole story of comes and then why they got in the fight. Like, no, you know what I mean? Like we work through different exit plans, exit strategies. If there's a fight that's about to happen, we've almost role played this. What do you do when someone wants to fight you over this? You know what I mean? So it's just when I start to see these kids take accountability for that stuff, and even if they do it wrong, even if they mess up, but just being like, Shawn, I messed up again. To me, that's growth.
Yeah.
Like, instead of blaming the school or blaming the teacher or blaming the other kid, it's just so that, I mean, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of when I start to see kids actually where I feel like they're making progress.
Yeah. Yeah.
One question I wanted to ask you, but I would love it if you can frame it in a specific way so I can understand the program a little better. I'd love to hear a success story, but can you take us? I mean, obviously, you know, for privacy reasons, like you know, just change the name so everybody stays, you know, so we can respect privacy. But I'd love to like just hear of this journey through the program to success, so I can really see, like, so you can really paint the picture in my mind.
Absolutely, I would love to. So it's actually the very first kid that we ever took on in the program. So I was at the BIC. He had gotten kicked out of school for smoking the little vape things that they smoke in the bathroom at school now or something. Those little weed vapes or whatever. He got caught smoking one of those and got kicked out of his school and got sent to BIC for behavioral stuff. We met him there, and he was the first official kid in our program. So after he did his like 60, 90-day sentence, whatever he had to do there, they sent him back to his regular school, and I would go to the regular school, check in with him. He never missed an event. He never missed a community service. He never missed anything. This kid's dad had been telling him every month for like 3 years that he was going to come visit from Waco and not come one time. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the dad just would continuously blow him off. Right. So this kid got back into his school, became, after the 1 year of doing good, the next year, junior, he became the class like vice president, got back on the football team, right? He got back on the football team and was working for like not full-time hours, but like 20 hours a week at Papa John's. We had a guy come and bring us a truck, an F-150, and donate it to the mentorship. It was like a $2,000. It was like, you know what I mean? It was probably worth a couple $1,000s. We gave him a donation receipt. It was great. And that kid, I did his driver's ed. So he had no one to do driver's ed with him. So I did his 6 months worth. I would go pick him up. He would drive me around to all the stuff I had to do. If I'm inspecting roofs, I also own a roofing company. So if I'm out inspecting roofs, I would, you know, he would drive me to the roof and he would drive me around. So he finally got a driver's license and we gifted him this truck. He's now about to graduate. He just graduated high school this time. He's the manager at Papa John's. At his senior prom night, his mom called me in tears and said, Shawn, I can't do it. And I was like, what's, she's like, I can't tie his tie, Shawn. It makes me want to cry right now. So I hopped in my truck. I went to his apartment and like, I tied his tie for him. And it was like one of the most rewarding things I've ever done in my life. I know it's like doesn't seem like a big deal, but his mom and it was like the coolest thing in the world to like see that, to see this kid go from a kid that was smoking weed in the bathroom to now he's, you know, and he's still being a manager at Papa John's at 18 is just a start for him. It's not like, oh, he's a manager at Papa John's, like that's his end goal. This kid's going to do something special. And all he needed was like a man that cared. Like that's all it was. And as soon as he got that, he just flourished. It's like, I'm so proud of him, man. It's really, that's probably my favorite story.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And
good stories keep people moving in. It keeps them in touch with their with what they're building too, like on your end, right? The more success you see, the more you're involved with it. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, it makes you want to go harder for sure.
Absolutely.
Because it goes the other way too. There's kids that are in this program that I'm like, they just keep getting in trouble. And
I understand.
And I have to learn one of the hardest things for me is I have to learn how to not take it personally. because the
Ooh.
first couple of kids I would pour into really hard, and then they would get in trouble again, and it would like hurt me. Like, how could y'all do that? Like, I'm doing all this for you. And I had to realize it's not about me. But
Right.
in the beginning, I took it personally. So now I'm having to realize, look, man, some of these kids are going to struggle. I struggled, and I had a dad there, you know? So like, I just have to realize that it's just part of the process.
Yep. Cool.
Yeah. Everybody learning at their point. But that's beautiful, man. I mean, even if you did nothing else, like that is one life that you changed for good in a permanent and permeable way.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that too, because sometimes I have to remind myself that as long as we're helping at least one kid get something out of it, because sometimes I feel like, man, is this even doing anything? Like, I can get negative, not, and they have to be like, man, I hope that some kids are actually getting something out of this. But I always tell myself, just like you said, man, if we can change one kid's life, this whole thing is worth it,
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, and it's tough, and it's even tougher the bigger the mission. I mean, it's not like you're trying to sell shorts, right? Like, oh man, my short is not going to make it. Like, it's a different kind of stakes.
Yeah, it's life, right? It's kids' lives.
People's lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which is beautiful. Like you're in the nonprofit space, and I know in the nonprofit space numbers are really important. So how do you guys go about measuring, success of the programs, and what metrics do you guys use to assess that progress?
That's a great question. And that's actually one that I don't know how to do like the whole grant stuff, right? Like, and I'm sure that there's ways to do it. I don't know how to do it. So, and that's one of the first things that all the grants, they want to know. In order to get a grant, they want to know, what are the metrics? How do we track that this money we give you is going to have impact, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that we've been working on really hard this last year or two, because we're trying to figure out how we can show them measurable, look, this is what this will do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the main one is graduating, right? That's when the kids start with us, if they graduate or not. That's a huge metric.
Mm-hmm.
The different hours that they rack up for community service is a really big metric, one that we take very serious, because I think giving back is one of I feel like there's a part of me that gets filled up when I give back, right? And there's a lot of people that just live their whole life like me, and that's empty inside of them, So like, I think that serving and giving back is crucial.
Yeah.
And so the graduating part, the community service hours, and then basically, for lack of a better term, reoffending. How many kids can we keep from coming back to this school? Because statistics show that like 80-something% of the kids that go to BIC are going to be back to BIC.
Yeah.
So it's trying to help keep those kids out of there. So those are the three main things that we've tried to, and that's just what I've come up with. I'm sure I need like more advice and better, planning on how to run that. But that's such a good question, because I need to work on that actually.
Yeah, I know in the nonprofit space, like numbers are very, very important, and then they're really difficult to quantify, right? Like, to quantify success, you have to go into measurable things, but redirecting somebody's life and giving them purpose.
How do you measure that, right?
Like, and Jordan, that's one of the reasons that going through grant process helps, because grants are there for that reason. If you have some sort of measurement, which you have to supply back once you get the grant, but the grant is a way to help get you jump started toward that, right? That's what grants are for. They're kind of like caveats to keep you moving forward. So, yeah, I used to be in the grant business in my nonprofit, in the nonprofit I was involved with, and there are people in organizations like SCORE. I think we have a person in our group that could probably help him with grants, that works directly with government contracts. So we'll reach out to him on your behalf. So
that'd be amazing.
You need some advice on that, because they are hard to write and they are hard to get. But once you get them, they can keep coming back. So it's good. Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah, and it shows. Funny that just now, like, it shows your philosophy through what you're doing through Second Chance Mentors and through your life, right? Just keep growing, keep working on yourself, and now you're working on your nonprofit, and you're tackling the difficult now. What are for you like the difficult challenges, like quantifying the unquantifiable,
yeah,
for the sake of being able to help more people.
Oh, see, and that would have been a good answer for the beginning when you asked me what are some of the challenges.
Hey, well, the whole thing's a challenge. So,
Yeah.
it just depends on what day it is. Somebody asked me one time, describe my walk in my business, and I said, well, you remember that song, 3 steps forward and 2 steps backwards,
That's
right? So if you lean against the wall and you take 3 steps forward and 2 back, you will eventually get across the room, but there's going to be a lot of trial and tribulation to get to that other side. So,
That's a great analogy, and that's what it feels like. It really is what it feels
yeah,
like.
it does. It absolutely does. And by the way, you're not the only one.
That's good to know.
Everybody is constantly going through that stuff. So welcome to the party, as we say. And
Yeah.
Did Jordan freeze up on us?
No, I'm here. Or I don't know.
Okay.
Am I,
Gotcha.
am I here?
Yeah, you froze up a little bit.
Yeah,
So
that's interesting.
you can always come back in. I can continue on. So you're still frozen. So I love what I love about the podcast is that there's a couple of us. So volunteers, because with a board and everything, boards love to make sure that they're following bylaws, and all nonprofits always try to bring in volunteers, right, Shawn? So
Yes, sir.
what kind of volunteers are you looking for? Is there an age demographic? Is it a certain person, a type of person? I mean, volunteers can be volunteers, but they need to be able to know what you're doing. So what kind of volunteers do you like to bring into the organization if you can?
Yeah, and that's such a good question too. It's we really have no stipulation whatsoever of like the only thing we do is we do a background check to make sure that there's no sort of like sexual stuff against kids,
Sure.
just,
Yeah, absolutely.
But as far as other than that, like I actually love to have a diverse group of volunteers, because then it's more a diverse group for these boys to be around. It's just going to help them in the long run of knowing how to deal with different types of people. And so many different men have different now we are a program based on young men and men. So we do
that's
have,
what you want. That's your obvious thing is
yeah.
you want men mentors, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's really the only stipulation. I mean, the main time that volunteers so far have been like is when we do community service, and it's so cool because they have like just being able to work alongside another man, like for these boys is like
Sure.
It's really cool. There's in the organic conversations that happen and just the bonds that are built that way. And then after a volunteer, so that's how we start mentor, like the men, as they come in and they volunteer for a while, because they have to prove themselves. Not, I mean, I don't want to say to me, but that they're not like they're serious about this, because a lot of these young men have already had, men come into their lives and leave, or come into their lives and leave. So we
Right.
kind of want the volunteers to come and prove themselves a little bit first before like we attach them to a kid per se. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the only stipulations. I mean, is just any man who wants to give back and wants to come do some volunteer work to get, in the door. And then once we can tell that they're sticking around, then and we like the relationships between mentor and mentee to kind of happen organically. So like, let's say they're doing community service, and this guy and this kid start to get along, you could tell it's going to be a good mix. Then we'll just kind of organically allow them to
bond. Yeah.
But personally, I'll just never take my hands fully off of any of the young men, because I want to make sure that no kid ever falls through the cracks. So
Absolutely.
I'm messaging all of them on a monthly basis. Like I'll check in with every single one on a monthly basis, even if they are assigned to a mentor, because I want to make sure that they don't slip through the cracks or something,
Well, let's welcome back Jordan.
Hey, Jordan.
Hey, we love live, man. We love live.
Yes, you never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, part of it. But we didn't miss a beat, so it's all good. So, Jordan, we just finished up with how he goes about getting volunteers, and I think we're at.
Did we cover how do people become a volunteer?
That's a good question.
We were getting there.
Yeah, I mean, through the website has the main way I do is I have them go to the website, and then there's a like, how do we help? Or there's like a little tab at the bottom that says like, get in touch or something. So a lot of men will say, hey, I would love to be interested in coming to volunteer, to come do something. That's the easiest way, because then it gives me a paper trail and I have their information.
Sure.
There's guys at church that, will come up to me and be like, hey man, I heard what you're doing. How can I be involved? And, some people are volunteers. They just want to come do the volunteer work and don't necessarily want the responsibility of being attached to a kid yet. And that's still just as awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, back administrative work's important.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. And that too. So the website, secondchancementors.org, second with a 2, that happened. Yeah. And .com.
Here's me and Jordan playing. Jordan. Okay, you got it.
we have both of them. We have .com or .org, so either one. But it's second with a 2. That's one that's messed up a lot, as people spell it out, and they're like, I can't find it. So I should have thought that through. Maybe
there it is. There it is, right there. And we're going to put a link in the description that you're going to send me for not only the main page. We're going to send them a URL link to the donation page. So people can have a chance to donate to that too. So that's really cool. So Jordan, I feel like we're on that. Mansfield buzz where, hi everybody, hang back for those technical problems. We'll be back in a short second.
More problems than usual, but it's okay. It's a live show.
And we love it, man. Great conversation. We don't care. We have fun.
But so then they can reach out to you to volunteer, whether they want to take on, just mentoring just taking on the mentoring role, or if they want to just support with some of the volunteer work. Do you also take donations?
Yeah, that's 100%. I mean, that's how we have to. So it's just kind of figuring out, like I said earlier, with the financial side of it. And I would just go back to it. Another thing I like to bring in when it comes to donation, when people ask about donations, is I'm not nobody. There's no one on like a salary. Like we don't make a penny. I don't get paid a penny for this program. Every penny goes back to the kids, back to the program, back to marketing. We get a lot of editing videos made for our Instagram page. I take the boys to, this is kind of off track, but I take the boys down to Lancaster Ave. This is something we did a couple months ago. I took them to the Dollar Tree. Each kid got $20 and they could buy whatever they wanted to get if they were homeless and wanted to have stuff. So then we took the boys to Lancaster Ave and they got to give their $20 bag to a homeless person.
Oh, wow.
But that homeless person had to give this kid their best piece of advice that they wish they knew at 16.
Oh, wow.
So we got them all, recorded and, paid an editor to, cut them all up. That's probably one of our biggest expenses, is making we do a lot of videos that are like, where there's like educational aspect to it, a lot of teaching, because some of these guys on the streets in Lancaster Ave, believe it or not, have a ton of knowledge. They just might've been from learning, doing it the wrong way, kind of like me. But, and anyways, I just started rambling, but yes, I get awkward in asking for money in the donation part. It's my biggest weakness in it, because I always feel like it seems like I'm asking for the money for me. You know what I mean? Like, so that's always one. But yes, we run solely off of donations.
Yeah. And, honestly, I would encourage you not to feel bad about it, because the money, I mean, even if it's going to you, like, you are the one putting this together. You're the one that's making this possible. So if you don't have access to money, you can't help these kids.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. And it's true. It took us a long time before we even started me and my wife, in the beginning, we were like, we'll fund this. Like, we're going to fund this, whether it works or not. And then luckily some people started, actually Enterprise Car Rental came up to us and said, man, we heard what you're doing. We've seen, with these kids, and they gave us like a $10,000. They called it a grant, but I guess it was a grant, but it wasn't. I didn't have to apply for it or anything like that.
Well, it wasn't a federal grant. It was. They called it a grant for their tax purposes. So through the 501c3.
Yeah,
so,
there was something a little different.
So I'm saying donate to these guys. Okay, donate.
Thanks, Ernie.
So you said that you didn't subsidize this, right? And I'm sure Jordan's going to ask you this, Jordan. So I guess, so what do you do when you're not raising money for this? What is your real gigs you're doing?
So I own a gym called Second Chance Fitness. which is on Cooper, in right when you get to Mansfield, Turner, Warnell, and Cooper. In the same shopping center as the Mama Cuca's Mexican restaurant. Where
I
like
know exactly where it's at. Yeah.
yes, I love that restaurant. But so that's where our gym is, and then we also own a roofing company called F4 Roofing and Construction. That's also here in Mansfield. So that's how we make our money and outside
Cool.
of.
Mhm.
Awesome.
And you know, I love that you're early on in this process too, because I know there's you know, people are going to listen to, in particular in the recording, because you know, permeates through time. Like, I think a lot of us have something we want to do. You know, there's a way we want to make a difference. Nonprofits are a great tool that's been placed at our disposal to be able to do that, but it's not the easiest thing to do. So you know, kind of walk us through it. Now you're not so far into it that you've already that you've forgotten the startup issues. You know, same thing with like, you know, when you start a business, like you face certain challenges, but then you go into it and then years later you're facing different kind of challenges and you tend to forget it. But you know, when you get to talk to somebody that is, you know, 10 feet ahead of you, they can tell you what rock not to step on.
Yeah.
And you know, where's a pothole to watch out for, where somebody that is 10,000 feet ahead of you cannot.
Yeah, it's because they've already forgot about this stuff from when they were beginning.
Yeah. So from so far away, you can't really take action on that advice because it's so far away from where you are that you need to remember it for later. So I would love to get advice from you. What would you need to do and look for when starting a nonprofit, and especially aimed at helping youth? Like, what advice would you give us?
I would say find a team, like surround yourself with, because my board is, there's no way we would be where we're at right now if I didn't have a group of men that care like I do. I found some guys that were really willing to go all in from right at the beginning. Like I remember being at dinner, sharing my vision with these guys, and they were like, dude, we are all in, let's go. And they've been a great rock and support team. So that's my first one, is to build a team, because you're not going to do it yourself. Like there's way too many small little things here and there. There's way too much. That's really the only one that I would give, is just to find some people that have a passion. Like, don't start a nonprofit because you think it looks cool from the outside either. Because it's not it's a lot of work, and there's a lot that goes into it, and there's a lot of stress behind, you know, planning these events and figuring out how I'm going to get 15 kids to a Mavericks game and get them home and not lose them. And, you know, like we do a ton of, if you go to our Instagram page or Facebook, Second Chance Mentors, like you'll see, I mean, we do a ton of events. Once a month, we're going to do a fun event, and once a month, we're doing community service. And I bite my fingernails down to the nub going,
I'm sure.
because I'm like, okay, I got to get this person picked up. Oh, how am I going to pick up those kids? I can only carry 5 kids in my car. I've got 9 more kids. Like, how am I going to get them there? What do I do? Who's going to pick them up? Like, there's so much like small details that people don't think. And I wouldn't be able to do it if I didn't have a team of guys around me that like believe in what we're doing, you know?
Right. So one of the things that, how big is your board? How many people on your board?
5. We have 5.
Yeah, good. And I bet those people are an echo chamber, right? I bet you they agree with what you're doing. So, you know, I used to have a board on one of the nonprofits I ran, and we had a pretty large board, and our meetings lasted 5 hours. You know why, Shawn? Because we had too many different people, too many different opinions trying to influence it. So I always say, if you're going to start a nonprofit, get an echo chamber around you so that you can get things done, get things voted on, and move them down the road, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like I said before, it's important for me to have guys like this, like around me, just the accountability aspect and knowing my background. And again, just having a felony on my record, I just want to make sure that all my I's are dotted and my T's are crossed. And I've got other people looking at how, like, I don't spend any money unless I get it approved. Like, there's just so many
smart business
details like that I just don't want to risk. Because if I make a bad decision, it's not just me that I'm hurting. Now I've got 14 young boys who are dependent on what we're doing. Maybe not dependent. That's probably not a good term.
A good treasurer on the board that knows how to file and take care of that can be a good leader, you know, on helping with that. So that's cool.
And Shawn, how would you advise people to go find that? find that like-minded people to join you?
Man, that's a good question. I just got so lucky with my friends, and guys that I really respect. I don't really hang out with, and I don't really hang out. All my friends are older. Like all the guys, I've always learned that at a young age was the top 5 people that I associate myself with are going to be like my income levels, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I've always tried to associate myself with people that are like better than me and where I want to get to.
Right.
So when I shared my vision with these men and they were like on board for it, dude, for one, I was like blown away, like that these people were willing to sacrifice their time. But it's really just, as far as where would I go to look for them, I'm so blessed that I didn't have to go look very far. But I think it's just finding people that you trust and that I like the way they carry themselves, integrity when like they're doing the stuff, when they're alone or when they're not on camera, they're still doing the same good stuff. They're good they have good character, they have good morals. We all mess up, but I just think that like who you surround yourself with is so important, right? So that's kind of the way I look
Well,
at it.
there's good mistakes and bad mistakes, as we say, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Want to make good mistakes.
Yeah, exactly. That is true. Some mistakes are a little bit too far. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it.
All right. So
last question for you, Shawn.
Yeah.
Looking ahead, right? What are goals for the future in the organization? Like, how do you plan to achieve them? What's next? What's coming?
Man, so and back to what I was saying earlier, Herdy was I took a phone call while we were and this lady just called and said, my son's in Fort Worth School District and he's getting in trouble and I need to find someone for him. And I literally had to say, ma'am, I'm going to look for some resources for your son and I'll try to contact you with them, but I don't have the resources or the bandwidth to I want to make sure that I have an awesome program here in Mansfield and that kids aren't falling through the cracks and that it's not, you know what I mean? So I'm not ready right now to transition out. Do I even want to be, an Arlington, chapter and a Fort Worth chapter? I don't know. It would take a lot more organization and it would take a lot more people being on board that wanted to put in as much effort as I do. You know what I mean? Because that scares me. So I don't even know if that's a goal of mine. I'm kind of content just being real dialed in with just the
Smart.
kids that we have and just I'd rather impact 20 kids on that. So my goal is 20 kids. Right now we're about 14. I want to have 20 all-in kids and 10 all-in mentors where each mentor has 2 kids. That's very doable. That's where I would feel like we've made it to what my goals are. Good. But who's to say that someone's not going to come along and be like, hey man, Shawn, I have this in place. We could, do this again here, maybe down the road, but that's just right now. That's not really one of my goals. And that's not really the best answer. I know most people are like, oh, don't you want to have a chapter all over the United States I don't see the vision. I don't see the path yet. So I don't know. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. You'd rather help 20 kids and give them your full attention.
Yeah.
Than be, distracted trying to build an empire
and kids fall through the cracks and it's watered down and no one's really getting any help. That's what I see happen if I tried to get too big.
Yeah, we were talking about that, Jordan, before you came on. That law of expansion, can be good or bad, and there's times to do it and there's times to sit tight and find your niche. And it sounds like to me he's in that. And you never know what the road's going to lead to, but some things just fall into place down the road because you're doing the right things in the present moment. So it's a patience game too. So
yeah, I think that's it. I think that's a good point too. Like I'm just still kind of in like the worst. I mean, 3 years in, we're still kind of in this baby phase of learning how to do this. And I honestly just said yes to what I felt God was telling me to do and just went all in with it. So I'm still trying to figure this out. I'm literally the definition of fake it till you make it. And it's working.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where
we all been fake it to make it.
Just be full transparency. I'm not some like nonprofit guru that knew it. Like, no, I got on, now that I'm going to start asking ChatGPT, like I'm excited that I have ChatGPT. I always forget about it, but.
Well, we're glad to hear that. It seems to be helping a lot of us in our path to where we're going. Right. Hey guys, Jordan, I put his website up. We're an hour in 9 minutes. It never ceases to amaze me how fast an hour can go.
Man, it feels like 10 minutes.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, Shawn,
We just scratched the surface.
I'm unbelievable. Yeah, unbelievable story. And I think what we should do, and I'll just put this out there today, is I think about 3 months from now, Jordan,
Mhm.
I think we bring Shawn back on and let us give us updates so we can kind of keep him in the mix on this, right? We need to help our nonprofits. That's what we're here for. So I think, Shawn, what we'll do in a couple months is bring you back on. Let's catch you up on what's going on with some of the kids. And we'll do a good job in the description after this is over to getting those links up there so people can donate. And my goodness, what a story. What a comeback, dude.
Thanks, you guys.
Unbelievable. And by the way, go use this gym. What's the name of the gym?
The gym is Second Chance Fitness.
Okay, I'm going to put that in the description. And then what's the name of the roofing company?
F4.
F4, right. Yeah, I know that.
F4 Roofing and Construction.
Okay, so if you use their services, right, then that money that they make after they pay all their bills, they can come back in and help support along with your donations. So support their business so they can support these kids. That's how it works. That's how it works.
You guys are fun. You guys are good at this. I've done other podcasts too, and they're dry and they're just like sometimes there's just no. You guys are fun. Herdy, you have a cool personality. You.
Hey, let me tell you something, and I'll say this on air. Jordan can tell you a story how this all evolved for us too, and it's kind of like a thread, right? And it's very similar to what your threads were, and that's why I brought that up. But we're a perfect match for. He may disagree with me, but we're kind of a perfect match for this because I always say I'm a little bit of rock and roll. He's a little bit of country, right? Meaning he brings the nice laid back, introspective part to it. I bring kind of the hyper part of it to it, rambling like you do and I do and whatever. It's just my personality. And so I decided when we're going to be on air that we weren't going to change that. We weren't going to try to be like a TV show or a radio show and have everything down to the minute. It just didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense. And to show you how cool this is, Christine said, such a great story and a mission. Can donations be made via the website? So we've already, this podcast is already helping your benefit and your cause. So
That's really cool.
I mean, I'm sorry to tell a story, but that's why Jordan and I are here. Jordan, would you agree, as we just continue to go past 112, would you agree we've made a difference in this community with these businesses we've interviewed?
Oh my God, yes. Like there's been so many, just led to business and discovery, right? Like it's really about getting to know the community and getting to know the people behind all these organizations. And, because we all do the networking thing, right? And we go over there and we give our pitch. And the problem is we have like 30 seconds, maybe.
Or 3 words.
But, it's not enough to tell the whole story.
No.
And Herdy and I really wanted to build a platform where you could, have the space to do that and allow people to connect.
That's cool.
It's amazing how much connection has happened live in the show. Yeah. And then connections afterwards. People have showed up to businesses after watching the podcast. I hope you get donations and more volunteers because that really is what this is about.
I don't have time to be the mentor, but I do have time to donate, and I'm going to make a commitment to go in and look at your program and see how much I can plug in and make a commitment to that because I do believe in what you're doing. We've been through recovery groups that I've taught myself, and I will tell you there's nothing more rewarding than to see people recover from things, whether it's divorce, alcohol, whatever that may be. So,
amen. And that's the goal. That's what
and to see people's light bulbs go off and realize their life can change in a good way, no matter what you've been through, is just a really, really cool thing.
That is a cool thing.
You're in a good business, man.
Thank you, and thank you, Christine, for asking that question. Yeah. Thank you for
watching. We'll send her a link. I got that link. I'll make sure we get it to her. She's on my email list. I'll also put it out to her. But Christine, there is the secondchancementors.com website right there in front of you right now. Mm-hmm. Go hit it up.
Take donations, right?
That's right.
Yes, sir. You guys are awesome.
All right. Well, Shawn, thank you. We are about to get off here. Y'all have
You're
a
good.
great day. Sit tight with us, Shawn, after it's over, because we're going to make sure your audio gets uploaded. So sit tight. Everybody, Thanks for being part of the Mansfield Buzz. We are back next week, and we will be on at 2:00 live. So come join us on YouTube. Come join us on LinkedIn. Come join us on the Facebook group page for Mansfield Buzz. We'll see you guys around the corner next Thursday. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, guys.